Good morning, everyone. How's it going today? Chelsea Face here. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And this video is going to be me reviewing the ARC that I received from Netgalley so kindly. It's called The Redwood Asylum. This is a mid-range short story kind of story about a asylum, and the author and Netgalley were so kind to let me have a review copy digitally, so I'm going to talk about it with you. Let's get into it. This story is about a girl named Jessica who is trying to abandon a life that she has lots of regrets and lots of things that she's running away from, and start anew working for an asylum. And they've renamed it to a psychiatric facility, but it's obviously just a place that you dump people who you think are crazy. She is a nurse registered, so she has these skills, and they were really desperate to get her. The whole time she's there, things are not exactly as they seem. We're let on very early on, kind of repetitively, to know that she has committed some kind of awful act or crime or something, and it's haunting her every single day. Working with people who are mentally ill, she is being haunted even more by these thoughts and these memories. This is also a paranormal story because the entire asylum is also being haunted by ghosts and spirits of patients who died hundreds of years ago or even more recently. And they are very visible to people. People know about them, and you can see like water and blood left over from them. So I don't know why this place hasn't even tried to do like an exorcism or any kind of sage burning or anything like that. They just kind of accept it and deal with it. And even if it's destructive, they're just like, whatever. So that was kind of interesting to read. This is a paranormal horror, I guess. Yeah, that was just a big part of this, was the spirits and ghosts. We are introduced to a patient known as 5B. A lot of the patients in this are known by their number instead of their name, which is very, removing their humanity. And he is kind of violent. I'm not quite sure how, they didn't really describe how he was so violent as much. He is an older man who's a war veteran, and so they think he had PTSD and just killed a bunch of people or did some crazy stuff. And he's drawing with some crayons because they didn't want to give him pencils or anything. So he's drawing a bunch of these drawings the same color every time. So it's either like brown or pink or blue or red. Like, he draws all of his pictures that day in the same color. And they're usually involving like the same person. Like, he draws one character within different scenarios. She is set to take care over his floor, and so she is administering care to him. And the lady, I think her name was Anna, who runs that hospital, she is showing her the ropes and tells her he's crazy. Like, he's a nut job. Don't listen to anything he says. Just take care of him and try not to get hurt. That being said, the entire facility has like hardly any security. You're almost by yourself 90% of the time. So if someone attacks you and tries to kill you, you're just kind of screwed. It's not really the best facility, and not a lot of people like try their hardest to work there. So they kind of just take what they can get, and also have very laid back bending of the rules. Also, there's like no government regulation within this place. You don't see anybody doing paperwork or cops coming to see what's happening or anyone checking in on these patients. And a lot of them are funded by the government or by rich people who just didn't want these people in their life anymore. And also, we're not told what time period this is taking place in. Unless I just happened to miss that. That didn't happen until the very, very end, like the epilogue. You don't know what time period this whole story is taking place, which is kind of strange because I wasn't sure what to picture. I didn't know if we were in the 50s or if we were in the 80s or if we were in 2020 until the very end. And then I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. But I just thought that was a really strange thing to not give us a time period. Throughout Jessica's stay working at the asylum, she starts to see ghosts more than everyone else, and they start acting up around her and doing things that they don't normally do and becoming more physically violent towards people. And so Anna and the rest of the staff are kind of worried about her, and they're just giving her looks and kind of just, are you okay? You know, checking in on her. And she thinks that they're thinking that she's crazy. Then one day, 5B has a talk with her, and she listens to what he has to say. And without spoiling too much for you, she ends up bringing some of his ghosts home with her. And she starts seeing them, and they're gross and they're dangerous. And every day she brings home someone different And so she thinks that she is absorbing like his evil spirits that are following him, and he's being set free. And so she's starting to lose sanity while he is starting to gain sanity. And it's a very interesting balance between, is she going out of her mind and is he going to be okay in the future? Like, we don't know yet. Over the course of this story, her superiors are starting to see her as less competent and like she shouldn't be there working with them, and maybe she should quit or take a break or just do something, because they don't think that she's cut out for the patients in that ward. And then eventually they do move her to a different ward, and she's not happy about it. Like, she becomes obsessed with the ward 5, and it's just really, really interesting to read about a girl who has all the opportunity to just get up and go, and yet she doesn't. She just stays there because she has nothing to lose, but also she just can't pull herself away to just move on and do this again somewhere else. So Jessica does some research. She makes a game plan. She figures out some people who have died at the facility who were murdered there, but people have covered up. She's found out some things about doctors and realizes that the hospital is not quite what it says it is. And maybe they are going to try to admit her and say that she's crazy. And so she thinks that that might have happened before, because a couple of the patients have told her, hey, I'm not crazy. This is something, you need to get out. I will say the one thing that bothered me the most about this story, because I don't want to spoil every single thing about it. I know I'm pretty bad about spoiling things sometimes. I did not like that they kept saying that the hospital was very selective over who they hired. They kept on pushing this and saying, you know, we made sure we only hired people like you. You know, at the very end, you find out what they mean by that, but I don't believe it. Like, they would say that and then turn around and be like, oh, we don't really check credentials and we'll hire anyone. It didn't make sense to me. I think that was pretty contradictory for the author to do. I get what she was going for, but it didn't make sense. I think that you have to pick one or the other. Either they're very, very selective and they know what they're doing, even if they pretend not to, or they're not, and they just hire anyone off the street with a criminal record, or anyone who just says they want to work there, whether or not they have a degree or not. So it just didn't make sense to me, and I wasn't sure which one to go with. So that was weird for me. Eventually, Jessica finds out what's going on. She finds out what is going on with 5B, like, why is he drawing these pictures and why am I being haunted? The hospital doesn't like this. They don't like what she's doing. She also finds herself in situations very similar to what 5B experienced before he was admitted. So we're getting like some foreshadowing and hints that she's eventually going to be a victim and placed into this hospital involuntarily herself. And at the very end, which was pretty predictable if you ask me, she is put into the hospital. No one believes anything she says. It was pretty cut and dry from the beginning that was going to happen, in my opinion. If you think something different, let me know, because I could see how this was going to end from the very beginning. It wasn't truly unique, or it didn't say anything different, I don't think. And the very ending, like the epilogue, we get why she's running, like what she did in the past that is so bad that she had to escape to this facility. And it was literally just cut and dry, 2 pages, no visuals to it. It was just telling you instead of showing you what happened. And I was really sad about that. I thought maybe after all of this book, we would get a really cool, action-packed, painful, heart-wrenching scene of what she had done. And instead we just get like a textbook page of like, I experienced a thing, it traumatized me, I left. That's pretty much all it was. I'm not gonna say what it was, but she has her own things that she's battling, and she starts to lose herself within the walls of Redwood Asylum. At the very end, you get an extra little story after the epilogue from the perspective of the head ghost, which I think, if I read correctly, she's going to be doing a whole novel from the perspective of that ghost and maybe her story. But I thought that was very strange, because this ghost referred to herself as like the mother ghost. And she watches over all the other spirits and ghosts and tells them, you know, hey, don't do that. That's not very nice. And they're like just playing or having fun or haunting people who deserve to be haunted by something. And I just thought that was really interesting, but also weird to just throw in there at the end. I guess it's just a teaser for the next book, but that, I feel like that could have been just like a little insert at the end, like an extra story, but it wasn't. It was part of the actual book. So that was strange. Overall, I gave this book 3 stars. I think it has some good merits to it. I think that the author has some interesting ideas within this involving the drawings and these spirits that were haunting Jessica and the other characters. But the whole asylum being bad and capturing you and making you a victim while other patients have been telling you this whole time that they're not patients and they were actually workers there once, and you not believing them, and now it's happening to you, that's been done. Like that's a thing that's happened over and over again. And I don't know, I just didn't think this was unique. I think the writing is good. I think it's pretty good. That's why I gave it 3 stars. And it held my attention enough. I did read this in like a day and a half. And I would recommend it. I think that if you're interested in some spooky ghost stories involving asylums, this is something that you should check out. But if you want something different, you know, it's not really that. It's not bad. So I'm not trying to bash this book or anything. But yeah. That's pretty much my thoughts on it. They're kind of all over the place. I hope I didn't spoil the entire book for y'all. If I did, I apologize. But this is what I felt needed to be said when discussing the book. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it with you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I want you guys to understand that, you know, by liking specific videos, it lets me know what kind of things you're interested in watching. So be sure to do that. And I'll see you guys soon in the next video. Have a good day. Bye, guys.